Hey, welcome back. A lot has happened since last time. My hair grew, and Val's still not running. Let's go fix her. So last time we left off with some fuel pressure issues, and we noticed that we're not seeing any fuel being pulled into the filters. Yep, completely dry. So it turns out we're gonna have to swap out our mechanical fuel pump, which honestly took a while to get shipped, so it seems that we still have some supply chain issues. But now that we have it, I'm going to show you how to go about replacing the pump. We also started running into some dieseling problems when the truck kept running after ignition was turned off until the fuel ran out, and then I had a nice rain of smoke. That was great. But we'll take care of that afterwards. Let's get started. So here's what I'm going to need for this. We have our fuel pump, thanks Captain Obvious. We're going to need some gasket maker or whatever your preference is. Now something to act as a shim. In this case, I'm going to be using a saw blade, which is strong, flexible, and thin. And I'll show you why this is important as we go along. And of course, we're going to need some gloves, because some say gasoline is not a skincare product, but I don't know about that. Now I have some hose clamp pliers for the fuel hoses, a torque wrench, and of course some zip ties. These always come in handy. In my case, I'm going to need a 9/16 socket for my bolts, a 5/8 flare nut open wrench, and lastly a way to clean off the old gasket. So I'm going to use this scraper. Alright, let's head on over to the engine, see what we got. So we'll start off by removing this fuel line, this fuel hose, and it's just a simple clamp, so you can use a screwdriver for this. Now here I'm going to use the pliers and I'm going to clamp off the fuel line going to the mechanical fuel pump. And here's something to keep in mind that I found useful. The closer you get to the end of the fuel hose, the less fuel you're going to spill when you take it out. So just undo the hose clamp with your screwdriver. And now that it's loose, we can remove the hose. I found it easier to pull the hose from underneath the truck, as I can get more room for leverage. You'll notice I have a few paper towels handy under the line just in case we start dropping some fuel when I remove it. Now we're going to set this aside for now. Just be careful not to spill, because even when you're mad, we really don't want to start a fire in your truck. It seems to be pretty tight in here. Now I'm going to take a pair of wrenches, one to hold the body of the inlet to the fuel pump, and the other for the fuel line nut. This will give you good leverage and prevent any damage to the pump's body as you're trying to untorque this. Let's see if I can get more leverage. So in my case, unfortunately, it seems that the fuel line's nut was really stuck. Now this is whether it was over tightened or it was just put in incorrectly, or maybe they just used the wrong tool for this. Some people tend to use a regular wrench instead of a line wrench. I'm not really sure what happened here, but let's hope the threads aren't damaged, or I may actually set the truck on fire. So in my case, it looks like the best way to go about this for me is to remove the whole line with the fuel pump attached. And then maybe I can try to put it on the vise and get a bit more leverage on this. Good, now, so it's time to remove the two bolts that are holding the pump to the engine. Now, as I'm removing each one of these bolts, I'm going to be checking the bolts for any signs of corrosion or any signs of damage to the threads, as I'll want to reuse these afterwards with the new pump. Yep, this one looks pretty good. And here it is. You just need to slide this out. Second bolt, pretty good. No issues here. I'm just gonna have to clean those threads afterwards, but that's okay. Now you see this piston rod thing that's sticking out of the engine in here? That is what pushes the black lever on the fuel pump to pump. and that's what makes it a mechanically driven pump. But we'll come back to that. Let's take a look at the two pumps here. Here we have a new gasket that comes with it. Now these look very similar at first glance, but notice there's a spring to push the lever back, which the old one doesn't have for some reason, which is strange. Maybe that's why it wasn't working. I don't really know. But the new one has the same breathing points, but in a different location from the old one. But this could just be a manufacturer's design thing. I'm not entirely sure. Now check out the damage on the old one. As you can see, the deformation here. But also the nut is marred a little bit, which makes me wonder if the previous owner did use the wrong tool, like a regular wrench or something. But anyway, let's free this little guy out. Now with the proper leverage, there it is. Nice and loose, that's what you want. Now I'm gonna go ahead and clean the surface where the new gasket is gonna go, so we can get a nice seal between each surface. And for that, I'm using the gasket cleaner, or you can also call it a scraper. Now here's a tool I found very useful to go about this rod. It's a 90-degree pick, and here no force is going to be necessary. Just slide the pick in against the end of the rod, and you pivot back and forth until you slide right in between. Pivoting the pick to the right to allow the saw blade to shim the space from the rod for us. Now just slide the new pump's lever, that's this black piece right here, where our shim is, making sure the rod is hitting the lever arm on the fuel pump properly. This may take you a few tries, as it did for me, but I think it was mostly the angle I was at because of where the camera is, so you guys can see. Sometimes I wish my arms were longer. But anyway, I'll go ahead and put our bolts back in. And ideally you want to go from the back to the front of the truck. Then you want to torque them down per your specs, so check your manual. And in my case, I'm going to be using 35 foot-pounds. Now I'm going to use the same line for now, as I don't have a spare at the moment, but really you want to replace with a new line or new fittings when they're marred, so you don't run into any issues down the road. So this is going to be just temporary. Don't judge me too hard, please. And lastly, you'll just want to connect the fuel line hose back the same way that you took it out. And that's it, guys, simple as that. So now just start your truck, get some pressure into your lines, make sure that you're getting proper pressure all across, check your hoses, check your connections, check everything, and make sure that there's no leakages across your system. Simple as that. Nice, this girl's finally not starving. You may see that fluctuation a little bit, but that's normal, as this is a mechanical fuel pump, but it's pretty steady. We get some fuel right into our filters. We're not seeing any leakages. So that's good. And if you found this video useful, like, comment, subscribe, or share with somebody who needs a little bit of guidance, as this can seem a little intimidating, but I know you can do it. Now join me next time where I'm going to tune this girl so I can make sure everything's running properly, because we want to make sure that Val's happy, because you know, happy car means a reliable car. Well, in this case, truck. So I'll catch you guys on the next one. Take care, enjoy your weekend or your week. Till then.